Welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial net center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Ozong, and let's bring you the big stories we're tracking for you at this very hour. Freed at last, 38 abductees from Kwara State and 51 from Niger State recovered from terrorists and regained their freedom after days in captivity. Some recount their ordeal. President Bola Tinubu gives marching orders. The Inspector General of Police, Ahiajoku, to immediately withdraw police from VIPs to strengthen fight against enemies of the state. Thanks again for joining us on a program that gives you an aerial and a complete view of what's playing out in politics and in the polity at midday. But let's get started with the tracking of the polity from the marching order issued by President Bola Tinubu for the immediate withdrawal of police officers providing security for very important persons in Nigeria. The president gave the order during the meeting with some security chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the Director General of the Department of State Services. According to the president, henceforth, VIPs who want police protection will now request well-armed personnel from the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps as the president just approved the recruitment of 30,000 additional police officers and collaborating with states to boost police training facilities nationwide. So that's as far as the president is concerned. Maybe we'll take a listen to the excerpt from the IGP. But the IGP actually did speak after that meeting, closed-door meeting with the president. Of course, it's national security, so we're not privy to what was the conversation. But they briefed the president on development as far as the issues around security or insecurity in this case is concerned. And one of those briefings had to do with the rescue of the 50. We heard the escape of 51 of the abductees in Niger State who have now regained freedom and are now united with their families. Let's take a listen to the CAN chairman who did a recap of what had played out.
We had 303 pupils and students and 12 staff, members of staff that were abducted. And between Friday, Saturday, and the wee hours of today, Sunday, by the grace of God, we had 50 of these pupils escaped from their abductors. And suffice to say that some of them that got back to their parents, they were, seen in the farm. Some farmers saw them who helped them back to their families. And I can tell you that the 50 pupils that returned, they gave us some sigh of relief, and we are praying and hoping that this same miracle that happened, God will touch the hearts of the abductors, so that we can have every other abducted persons released between now and the shortest time. Apart from the 50 persons, pupils who have returned, we still have 265. 265. We have 236 pupils, 14 students, those in the secondary, there are 14. And then we also have 3 children that belong to the staff who work in the school. So the people that will categorize them as 239. So if you add up 239 and 14, that will, and 12 staff, that will give you 265.
All right, so that's just a recap of what the CAN chairman has said as far as the release of the abductees are concerned. But let's switch gears now to Kwara State, where we understand that 38 of the worshippers have now regained their freedom. But one of them, that's in Eruku in Ekiti, local government area in Kwara State. And we're so glad that has happened. Well, one of them actually had to say this after his experience, and you may want to pay attention.
Just a sudden act, suddenly, and a terrifying act. We really know that it was a dominated area by these evil people called bandits. Even they have the courage to tell themselves that we are bandits. And they make us to know that there's no one that can just slip away without being caught. And with what we see, nobody can escape.
We are so glad to see our people back live, and we appreciate the governor of the state. We appreciate everybody for this great job. One of the authorities on the way coming. We thank God of Christ Apostolic Church.
Well, the governor also spoke about this release of these abductees. Let's take a listen to him as well.
Government and people of Kwara State, we thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his hands-on approach to bringing them back home. And you can see he did not go to the G20 just to pay attention to this, and we can't say much until they're debriefed. And the security agencies, we thank them a lot. The director of DSS was directly in the field, leading from the front. Thank the National Security Advisor. All the agencies coordinated properly.
So that's as far as this issue of abductions and their release is concerned in Kwara and Niger State. And all eyes are on the remaining. You remember the 25 girls have been kidnapped in Kebbi State, not released yet. It's been days now. We're hopeful that very soon we're also going to get good news. But generally, I think we can all agree that we have crisis on our hands. National security is a problem. And apparently, it's arguable that it looks like we're literally at war. In fact, it can be argued that we're at war, given the number of attacks and fatalities and casualties being recorded in the past, say, few years, this year, last year, and the many years you're familiar with. Let me bring in our guest, who is going to be having a conversation with us as far as the issue of security is concerned. Mr. Ray Emena is the DG Ahiajoku Center in Imo State. Joins us virtually from Owerri, the Imo State capital. Mr. Emena, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
And this comes at a very, very right time as far as the issue of national security. But now let's talk about zonal and maybe drill down to statewide security. I know that there is something in the works as far as Ahiajoku is concerned. I think I got some briefing, which I'm going to build on as far as this is concerned when it comes to the issue of security. The Southeast, for instance, has been bedeviled since all of the things that have happened. I don't want to jump the gun in terms of how I want to sequence our thought. But let's begin with this Ahiajoku lecture that wants to talk about the future of the Igbo economy amidst the challenges of insecurity. And there is a clear call, according to your briefing, that there needs to be a paradigm shift. Why now? Why this? And what is the paradigm shift we're looking at here?
Thank you very much. Drawing from your story so far this afternoon and the news all over the country, it's very important and it's germane at this point in time that every right-thinking Nigerian, every patriotic Nigerian, every citizen of Nigeria at this point in time should be able to give our thoughts and considerations about the future of this country in terms of security. It doesn't have to be in the Northeast, the Northwest, Southeast, or anywhere. Generally, the whole country, there is need for people to begin to think about security consciousness. And the issue at stake did not start today. It's been there with us for a while. And the important thing to do and the most reasonable thing to do is begin to think about it, begin to talk about it, to begin to provide solutions and answers to these challenges. Because if you, by people say, Professor China Achebe, the erudite and Igbo scholar and war scholar, was clear when he said, if you do not know where the rain started to beat you, you will not know where you claimed your body. So bringing it closer to us at Ahiajoku Center, we thought about this long before now and felt that there was need for us to talk about security. We have had our own fair share of insecurity in the Southeast. and everybody knows about it, and there's nothing to pretend about it. And as an institution that is charged with responsibility of thinking and knowledge, we thought it was necessary to ask ourselves what is the origin of this problem? What are the accidents? And what can we do about it? Let's not stop playing the ostrich in all about this. That's why we came up with the theme. Of course, you may know that Ahiajoku lecture started in 1979 under the governorship of late Samuel Mbakwe. This year is the 45th year of Ahiajoku anniversary, 45th anniversary of Ahiajoku lecture series. And this year will be marked the 30th lecture. And we felt that given the circumstances of our client presently, the most important thing about us now as a people, as Igbo, is about our economy, the future of how do we find a solution to the army of unemployed youths roaming the streets? Because unemployment and security are two sides of the same coin. As long as our youth remain unemployed, there is no insecurity will continue to fester. So as an institute, as a center that is charged with knowledge-driven solutions to society, we came up with the topic, the future of Igbo economy amidst the challenges of insecurity, and the call for a paradigm shift. Let's not, for some time, we've talked about the problem. Can we find a solution? Is there anything in our culture in the past that we can draw to confront the current challenges we have? And how do we go about it? So that's what has given rise to this year's Ahiajoku lecture topic.
All right, Mr. Amenia,
yeah.
Sorry for cutting into your thoughts, but so that we make a bit more of progress, since you've mentioned solutions here, and you've done a bit of an etymological analytics of where you're coming from, the number of years. Thank you for that background information. Now we're talking solution. What do you think are the, if I were to ask you, and perhaps this will be part of what you need to find out in that forum, in that meeting, in this summit, what do you think are the major drivers of insecurity in the Southeast? The Southeast people are very industrious. Nobody argues that. You can't put them down, no matter how hard you try. They always look for a way to rise, and they are very industrious set of people. But this insecurity has become like a very difficult challenge to be able to deal with. What do you think are the major drivers of insecurity? Because if you can't find the solution and you can't get a proper diagnosis, and then solutions is quite far from getting close.
Thank you very much. As our people say, when you have a bag, you don't begin to pinch at the bag to allow it to begin to spray before you can take it to destination. In other words, what is the hurry? We are going to have a lecture, and I'm not competent to talk about the content of the lecture. That's why we have assembled a cream of Igbo best in terms of knowledge-driven Igbo best committee to do a colloquium on the 27th of this month. 5 the papers will be presented, where every aspect of our tragedy of insecurity will be examined and solutions profiled. And then on the 28th of November, the most reverend, our erudite scholar, the Bishop of Osoka Diocese, Professor Godfrey Bebike Honor, will dissect this challenge. So I don't think it's proper for me to begin to pinch at the bag before the time. But the whole essence of this discussion, of this is Ahiajoku, is to find a solution. Look at, as a people as Igbo, over time, some of these things that are happening are strange to us. We are not known as people who go and live in the bush. Like you said earlier, we are very industrious people. We are not known for people who are beggarly. We are not known for doing things that are untoward against each other. We are not known to shed blood. But these things are with us today. So that's why we have assembled a colloquium team that will dissect the challenges and to cap it, somebody who has a moral authority in Nigeria across all boundaries. There's nothing political about it. Professor Godfrey Bebike is well known as somebody who speaks his mind, who is very patriotic, who has the best of thoughts from Igbo. And we're asking we're going to hear drink from his knowledge, a cup of knowledge as to what is the way forward. So at this point in this child program, it may be a little uncivilized of me to begin to discuss the matter before the time comes.
Yeah,
But the whole
not
idea
necessarily,
is
not, Mr. Amenia, my apologies. The whole idea is not for you to divulge anything. I believe whatever you're doing is in the interest of the public. It's not a closed conversation. It's in the interest of the public. Just to give us a bit of a highlight, because we've seen colloquiums, we've seen summits. So what makes this different from a usual talk shop?
What makes this difference is because we are discussing a matter that is to us, a challenge that is hounding and terrorizing all of us. Let us be honest about it. Nobody is safe. And a lot of drivers, a lot of issues are involved. And like I said, unemployment being one. And we must, at this time, be honest with ourselves. Let us not play politics with it. All is not well in our land. And we must sit back. In Igbo tradition, when challenges come, what happens is that the elders will gather at the village square. And from every corner of the village, issues are thrown up, challenges are presented, resolutions are sought, and agreements are reached. That is what we are primed to do at the Ahiajoku lecture. I am not, the question is why there's been a lot of talk in Nigeria, and I accept and I agree with you. But that's why we have a center that will, after the lecture, will begin to synergize, synthesize, and take the issues and make proper practical resolutions that will guide us on the way forward. One of the topics at this day is Akurulo. Akurulo means take the wealth back home. And our diaspora are primed and they're coming to discuss it. One of the topics we are going to discuss is about community security. There is no crime that can take place in any community without the knowledge of that community. Community security, and that's why the issue of state police is very germane at this point in Nigerian society. If you don't have every criminal in every village is known by the members of that community. Let us stop discussing security as if it was something from the blues. It is with us. We are part of the problem. Our children are part of them. Our mothers, our sisters are part of them. So let us take it back. And that's why we are going to do in these lectures. What is it in Igbo society?
Ms. Amena, my apologies. I have a few more questions for us to begin to wind down. And one of which will be resolution. How binding is it going to be? It's just a forum, a colloquium. It's not like an enforceable order of court or a legislation passed by, we don't even have regional government, we have state governments, or it's going to be adopted. So whatever resolution or whatever pact comes out of this, how do you think it's going to be implemented? And that's on one hand, given the situation the region and the entire nation has found itself. If you can answer that in 1 minute, so I can throw in my next questions, I'll begin to wind down.
Okay. First and foremost, the Ahiajoku lecture is a project of the entire Igbo-speaking states of Nigeria, 7 states. Secondly, the world was created by the word of God. If you have a challenge, the first thing you do about that challenge is talk about it. God created the world by the word. So if we speak out and identify the challenge, our next challenge will be those challenges and solutions also profiled. We make it available to government agencies to make them actionable. And we are in a position to take them to the next stage where our parliaments in the Southeast will begin to enact laws in line with the findings of the lecturer and resolutions thereafter.
All right.
You said 1 minute.
Yes, fantastic. Now, let's expand the conversation. And that has to do with what played out in court on Friday. Nnamdi Kanu, 7-count charge, found guilty on all, some bordering, or majority bordering on terrorism, sentenced to life in prison. Of course, we understand there's going to be an appeal, maybe to go all the way to the Supreme Court. But there are underlying issues. The judge, in my simple summary of that judgment, which I have read, and which a lot of Nigerians are privy to, a 144-page document, simply says you have a legitimate agenda to agitate over, but your methods are wrong. That is my summary of what the judge said. For that, you offended the state and you spend the rest of your life in prison. Now, one of the things that Igbos have talked about is marginalization. Is it going to be on the table at Ahiajoku lecture?
To take a little backwards, Ahiajoku lecture is a product of the a decision by Igbos after the Nigerian Civil War. Let us not pretend about some of these things. After the Nigerian Civil War, every Igbo person who had their account in a bank was given 20 pounds. And by 1979, most Igbo people have rebounded economically. And the then governor and intellectuals at that time said, what is it about the Igbos that make them so unique that after such devastating 30 months war, and after such bad treatment, they were able to rebound within a short time? So what is it about Igbo that we can take from the past to build on the future? That is the origin of Ahiajoku. And that's why we call it an intellectual harvest. There can be no two laws in a country. Any country that does not have equitable justice for everybody is bound to have this type of situation we have. And this is at the core of every society that has made progress. There must be justice for all. I am not in a position to talk about specifics, but I'm in a position to say that as Ndi Igbo, we feel that we have to take our destiny to our own hands. Because as it is, it appears that we are becoming endangered species. And through Ahiajoku, we intend to chart a course economically, security-wise. We are no longer going to be, we have complained for a long time. We must take our destiny to our own hands, as we did in the past, because we have the capacity to take our destiny to our own hands. And if you ask my personal opinion, not about the Ahiajoku lecture, my personal opinion is that if indeed, if there is a equitable distribution of wealth, if there is free and fair for government policies, if we have the opportunity, we are going to excel. Whether in Nigeria, I believe in Nigeria, I believe that within Nigeria.
Okay. Mr. Two questions. I will drag you out a bit more, and that has to do with, first is, do you agree with the verdict of the High Court that Nnamdi Kanu is a terrorist and should spend the rest of his life in jail?
If that is justice, I believe in it. But if it is not justice, it's unfortunate.
Now let's talk about some basic housekeeping that a lot of people feel that the Igbo ethnic nationality has to do for them to be able to rise above the waters. First, inward, and that has to do with unity of purpose. There seems to be lack of unity of purpose, overlapping egos, which some have argued that that is even a greater crisis for Igbo than even this sense of marginalization against the rest of the country. Is that a fair assessment of looking from outside in, or is an exaggeration of the crisis?
Igbo people are, as you know, are the most Republican people all over the world. The Igbo man does not believe in his chi, his own personal God. And he knows that as long as his right arm is capable of hard work, he will thrive and survive. And I'm talking about what the Ahiajoku Center represents: our culture, our propagation of our culture, and preservation of our culture. And we believe in hard work, honesty, and sincerity. And I would believe very strongly that given a fair situation in Nigeria, we can thrive more than any other community in the world. When people want to divide us, they say we are not united. Somebody will tell you, for you people are not united now, go and put your house in order. Are the Yorubas united? Are the Hausas united? It's only a family of fools that will, a family of docile people that will have one opinion. Diversity of opinion does not mean disunity. And that is what drives a community. That's what drives civilization. Diversity of opinion. That's what we have in Igbo. If Igbos are so ununited as they claim, why are we more the most developed part of? Go to every Igbo village. It's like a city, major city in other parts of the country. If we are so so disunited, why is that so? Why we have a Ahiajoku lecture that brings up all the governors, all the people in Nigeria?
Mr. My apologies, totally out of time. So you've mentioned it, so you can do it in 30 seconds. Who are coming for this event, and when is it taking place?
We're still already at GOG. Ahiajoku colloquium will hold on the 27th, next week, Thursday, at Ahiajoku Center. His Excellency, the Governor of Imo State, distinguished Senator Hopu Uzodinma, who has felt it necessary, has revived and refurbished the Ahiajoku Convention Center. He has worked very hard to clean it up. And the best, the cream de la cream of Igbo community from diaspora, from all over the country, are already assembled to come to Owerri for this great intellectual feast.
All right. Mr. Ray Emenia is the DG Ahiajoku Center in Owerri, Imo State Capital. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate you and wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Just before we go, let's tell you the Imo State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has declared the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, as the undisputed national leader of the party, following what they describe as his long-standing contribution to the party's national growth. Addressing party supporters in the state capital, the chairman of the party, Austin Nwachukwu, says Wike's extensive support and investment in strengthening the party over the years cannot be dismissed, especially how PDP expanded from controlling only 4 states in 2015 to 16 in subsequent years. The party also passed a vote of confidence on the National Secretary, Senator Samuel Ayon, and the BOT Chairman, Senator Ma Ohawan, praising them for their commitment to the stability of the advancement of the PDP. This is a segment of the People's Democratic Party. You know, they are divided in two now.
The Imo State chapter of People's Democratic Party, rising from her stakeholders meeting, move the motion, which is unanimously adopted, that Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike is and remain the undisputed national leader of our great party. We lend our total support, reiterate our confidence in Honorable Abdurrahman Muhammad as acting national chairman of our great party, distinguished Senator Samuel Ayon as national secretary of our party, and Senator Maho Ohabunwa as BOT chairman of our great party.
Interesting days for the PDP. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.